Hi, I'm AJ Nash, digital intelligence advocate here at Authenticate. And so, listen, I've been asked to kind of give some ideas and thoughts on intelligence, on the whole field, on the whole industry. So this is a new little series we're going to start and see how this goes, see if this is interesting for people. And so I want to kick it off. There was an interesting conversation, a conversation I had on LinkedIn not long ago, and it sparked some larger conversation. So somebody in marketing, probably just trying to be funny, but basically took a shot at the entire intelligence career field, the CTI career field, with just a little meme that basically showed, somebody's cutting and pasting is what they do for CTI, and somebody else just quotes open source news media as CTI. And it ruffled my feathers and some others along the way, because it's a real misunderstanding of what Intel is. And what I thought was really frustrating about it, and I said as much, frankly, for anyone who wants to look up the comment, was that I thought it was ironic that the same people who have watered down the meaning of intelligence in our industry, the marketing community, is now also making fun of Intel people. And so I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper on the concept, though, because I've said in the comment, and I've said before, Intel is a noble profession. But it's really misunderstood, and I think it's a little frustrating. And this is the challenge I think we need to overcome. So coming out of the intelligence community, obviously, I take it a little bit personally. Listen, if you're just cutting and pasting stuff all day, you're not doing Intel. No doubt about that. If you're just quoting things out of the media and putting together a whole list of things that others have reported, you're not doing intelligence. But that's the challenge, is that's what happened in our industry, is there was no intelligence in the private sector. And then there was this push for intelligence and this creation of this cyber threat intelligence titling. And what we had was a whole lot of people now who were just bestowed the title of head of CTI or you're the intelligence team now. And in most cases, they didn't have any intelligence background. And listen, I'm not trying to denigrate anybody who's doing CTI who didn't come out of the intelligence community, didn't have that formal background. You can grow and become an intelligence analyst, an intelligence professional, without spending decades in the military or the government or the agencies. But you can't simply be called an intelligence professional. You can't spend a career in cybersecurity or in incident response and then one day just be the head of CTI and be an intelligence professional just because you have an adjacent career field. That's just not how it works. And that's what ends up being very frustrating to me as an Intel professional. And but that's what's happened is there was this push for intelligence. And so now we all have to have Intel people. And what most organizations did is they looked at somebody and said, well, Bob over here is fantastic. He's a great employee and he's due for a promotion. He's been running incident response for a long time. And Bob, you're the new director of Intel now. Bob doesn't know anything about intelligence. And so what ends up happening is Bob tries to do the best he can. He does some research, figures it out. There's no budget to train him, of course. And ultimately, he hires a couple other people, and you probably just build another incident response team, or you build a team that cuts and pastes and creates briefings and presentations that are really just the news, right? Because intelligence is a lot more than that. And intelligence, by the way, is also more than just smart people with Google. There's a lot of processes, and there's a lot of education that goes into this. It is a career field. It is a profession. To get the right people, the right content at the right time to make the right decisions requires a lot of analytic rigor. We go through years and years of training, and even beyond the training, it just takes experience. And that's why I advocate strongly for people building Intel teams to hire somebody with an intelligence background, at least to lead the team. Not everybody on the team has to have 10, 12, 15 years in the agencies, but somebody who leads the team and builds one probably should have some serious experience. Maybe they got it through education. There are some universities that have great programs that have combined the government training with cybersecurity, have some CTI programs that are fantastic, or have some intelligence studies programs. You could take the SANS. SANS has a great, the GCTI course, fantastic course. It's a baseline, but it doesn't make you an intelligence professional or a leader. And so I think that's the biggest challenge we've had, is there was this push to, we've got to have intelligence. And unfortunately, that void was filled by people who weren't necessarily intelligence professionals. It wasn't their fault either. They were shoved into this. And so there became this perception of what CTI is, what intelligence is. And it's really sort of persisted. So there's a vast difference between somebody who is just reading the news, pulling a couple headlines, creating a 2-page, a briefing that really is just, here's the highlights of what happened in the news today, and somebody who's an intelligence professional. Even with that same content, by the way, I can take those same 10 news stories, and I promise you the report that's going to come out of my handwriting or my intelligence research and background is going to be different from somebody with no background, because I'm not just going to regurgitate it, and I'm not just going to tell you what I think. I'm going to provide analytic rigor and structure. I'm going to use analytic techniques. I'm going to use the proper confidence language. I'm going to do other research to back it up and say, these are the stories. This is what it means, and this is what it means to us and what we can or can't do about it. There's a big difference there. And I think it's really important just to understand that and know that. So, it's not meant to insult. Again, for anybody who's working in this profession, trying really hard to do great work, to create intelligence products that allow organizations to be proactive, because intelligence is the only way to be proactive. I applaud you. And if you don't have a background in Intel, that's fine. If you've been thrust into this, reach out to intelligence professionals and get help learning if need be, or get the training, or push your leadership for more training and experience on it. Again, I'm not trying to be difficult for people who have been put in these positions, or people who have decided to go out on a limb and take the shot. And there's nothing wrong with that, to take a stretch position. Say, hey, I've got a career in cybersecurity. I'm interested in intelligence. I've done some reading. I want to take a shot. I applaud that. I think that's great. There aren't enough people coming out of the government space. Maybe there are these days, but there weren't enough people, at least, to fill the roles. But please, if you're not in this field, if you don't understand Intel, if you're in marketing, if you're in sales, if you're in those places, please stop denigrating people that are actually intelligence professionals doing good Intel work, and stop boiling it down to just, you're just people who cut and paste and throw things on papers. I don't believe in the title CTI. Cyber Threat Intelligence is a title I don't use. I don't actually believe in it. Threat is a subset of intelligence, by the way. Cyber is just another domain. I don't happen to believe in it. I believe it's all intelligence, and there's subsets within there. I think it's a title that was created, basically, mostly out of thin air. But please stop denigrating people who are trying to do this work, and please stop conflating somebody who was thrust into that position, who's trying to learn it and figure it out as they go, and may really just be reporting the news, and somebody who's got a 20-year career in intelligence, or a 10-year career in intelligence, somebody who's leading an Intel team, building Intel teams, doing the work necessary and the structured and analysis necessary to ensure that leadership has the right content to make the decisions they need to make. These are vastly different things. They may look the same on paper, but they are not the same. If anybody wants to challenge me, feel free to reach out. Again, my name is AJ Nash. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm happy to have a discussion about it in email. I'm happy to jump on a webinar or a podcast and talk about it. I'm happy to show you, the kind of work I do and the teams I've worked with do, and why it's different. But that's just my thoughts on the topic. Like I said, intelligence is a noble profession. And I'd like to make sure that we know the difference between people who are just regurgitating news and people who are actually doing intelligence. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, again, AJ Nash, Digital Intelligence Advocate for Authenticate.